A few years ago in my life, I was feeling very resentful of my marriage and my husband and some different elements of work and some family members. And there was just resentment like bubbling within me. And with that resentment would come negative thinking, like negative thoughts, where I would say to myself, okay, I'm going to have this positive communication or interaction. I'm not going to let this bother me. I'm not going to pick up the phone and complain. But then the negative thoughts would take over and I'd be doing the very thing that I said I wouldn't do, right? And then I'd feel frustrated with those people. I would second guess myself, come away from my self-trust. So today I want to share with you on this episode of Expedition to Soul a little bit of a just discussion about the the solar plexus chakra, the heart chakra, and the throat chakra with a little astrology in there and looking at how we can use astrology as this tool to understand ourselves and how we interact with other people, but then how that internalizes into our energy system as well, and how we can either shrink down in our energy or amplify energetically. The option's always there either way for us. But how we can use these tools to help us navigate this negative thinking that can really hold many of us back, whether it's about ourselves or other people, and how it just boils below the surface for us. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If the word witch makes you feel full of power and excitement, if you love personal development but loathe boring love and light conversation, if a sexy combo of witchery and inner work piques your interest, you're in the right place. Welcome home, Magic Maker, and welcome to Expedition to Soul, the podcast brought to you by the Sisters Enchanted. All right, welcome into this episode of Expedition to Soul. I am so excited to share this topic with you. We teach in Holistic Witchery all about astrology. We teach about the chakras, and we teach a framework to help you go from chaos to calm and from negative thinking to possibility thinking very quickly with the framework we teach in Holistic Witchery. And these tactics have changed not just my life, but the lives of so many people. We hear from people all the time who can't believe that they've only been with us in our programs for like 4 weeks or 8 weeks, and the big life changes that have come as a result from the short period of time that they have spent with us. We have one student, for example, who recently told us that she couldn't even believe that her changes here were so profound compared to what she had been doing in therapy, which I thought was just absolutely wild. Like we had one person say that Holistic Witchery absolutely saved me. Like those are the words. I'm reading it right now. Holistic Witchery absolutely saved me. I never had the tools to control my thoughts and correct my actions before. Now I can work around my past traumas to the path that is best for me. And this person says they'll be going through the program again and again and again because they know that the spiral will just grow and expand for them. Like they can see where this can happen in their life. So I wanted to share that context with you so that you know, as I start to talk about astrology and the chakras, that this isn't just another like metaphysical thing that we're tossing out there. It's not another like, oh, learn about this and maybe you'll use it or maybe you won't. That we weave these tools together in this tangible way. So it actually is a tool in your tool belt. And then the 5-eye spiral that we apply to all of the teachings becomes the implementation device for all these metaphysical practices that you are bringing into your life. So in 2017, the Sisters Enchanted turned 1 year old in May 2017. And I had my second child also in May 2017. So for a whole year before that, I was running my previous business that I owned and operated. I had a toddler at home during the day, and I'd run that business at night and on the weekends. And then I was pregnant and had the first year of the Sisters Enchanted. So that was like a recipe for frustration, overwhelm, resentment. And I was feeling it. And that went on from about 2017 into like the beginning of 2021, where I really started to see something had to change. And actually, when I started to make changes in my life in 2021, little did I know things would get way worse before they got better. So much in my life came to a head in 2021, 2022, all the way up until early 2023, where there was another big upheaval, but it was all as a direct change. It was directly impacted by these significant changes I made in my life around negative thinking and negative energy. So when I decided I was no longer available for negative energy, I was no longer available for feeling like I had to save people, and then thinking negative thoughts about people because I was frustrated that they needed saving all the time, and then thinking negative thoughts about myself for doing it again. Like, here I go again, putting myself out there. And so having these negative thoughts happening, and things, I will say, like, things got rough before they got better. But it was the tools that I'm going to share with you today that helped me weather the storm. And I can tell you, hand to heart, honest to goodness, 2023, like April 2023 through now, this is May 2024 that I'm recording this. May 30th, 2024, I'm recording this. I think this episode comes out early June. But from the time like April 2023 through now, it is the most peaceful period of time I've had in my entire adult life, possibly like my whole life to date, like my childhood, my teenage years, like possibly my whole life to date. This has been the most peaceful time. And it's because I use these tools and I kept at it. I kept at the expansion. So we're going to start by talking about the solar plexus. And we're going to talk about negative thoughts. And we're going to talk about the solar plexus, the heart chakra, the throat chakra. And we're going to talk about a little bit of astrology in here too, and what it all has to do with everything. So the solar plexus chakra and the way that we teach it. Now, remember that metaphysics are very variable depending on who you're going to learn the information from. And chakras in general, it's an Eastern concept. It's an ancient Indian concept that has been westernized greatly and brought into this new age metaphysical world. And so when we look at that and we look at astrological associations, this is sort of how where we land with this information. So your solar plexus chakra, it is right below your rib cage, and it is your personal sun, your confidence center. And the way we teach it, your solar plexus is aligned with the sun in astrology and also the planet Mars. Now, not everybody teaches it that way, but that's how we teach it. So the planet, the sun, which is not a planet, but in astrology, it buckets into that, right? When you talk about where your planetary placements are. So the sun, and then also Mars. So this is really your sun is your I am statement. It's your confidence area. What are you confidently portraying out into the world? What space are you taking up when you walk into a room? And then when you look at your sun sign, so I'm a Sagittarius. The Sagittarius wants to feel free and like, I am a person who takes quick action. I'm a person who learns and expands, and I'm a person who travels, and I'm a person who journeys and digs deep into the big vision and meaning of things. That's all very Sagittarius energy. And that is my I am. So in my confidence area, my solar plexus, if I don't feel confident embodying that energy, or if I'm having negative thoughts about other people that I feel like are hindering my ability to embody that energy, like somebody in my life who like poo-poos my big thinking, or says things like, that's too much, tone it down, or that doesn't even make sense, or but look at the data right in front of you, right? Like, that really gets me. I love data, don't get me wrong. I love data. I love a good research study. But if I have some like big ethereal idea and I'm like, but what if this is the meaning of everything? And then somebody hits me with like a piece of research when I'm in the middle of that thought, it really bugs me. So later I'm like, oh yeah, I'm accepting of that. But right in the moment, it bugs me. So that can make me shrink in that confidence energy. And it can make me start to have negative thoughts about myself and think, well, maybe I am too much, or maybe this person's right. Or I'll have negative, resentful thoughts about that person. Now, with Mars being aligned there too, with the solar plexus energy, that is that sort of like, what am I going to fight for energy? What is it that I am willing to like radiate out power for. If you watch the show Lucifer on network, not the TV show, the show Lucifer on Netflix, if you watched that, the goddess of all creation, she gets like cut open and she just shoots light out everywhere. It's kind of how I envision Mars and your solar plexus. It's like your power that you can wield, and like where are you pointing it, and what is it, what cause are you like directing your energy at today? That's very solar plexus to me. And so when it comes to frustrations, resentments, growing, negative thinking, if you're feeling like that's all stifled, you're going to have negative thinking either about yourself because you're going to feel bad, like that you are doing something wrong and your light is not valuable enough and you cannot shine it, or you shouldn't, or you're going to be mad at other people for your perception of them as trying to dim your light, or like there's not enough room for you. So in my case, in all of these years where I had so much going on and I really wasn't advocating for myself, I was overdoing for other people, I was deprioritizing myself. It wasn't even so much other people doing things, it was like me overdoing, overachieving, over controlling, which was making me suffer. And then when you do that, other people just receive it because it feels good for them. They're like, oh, Sarah will just do it. And so uh, we can get resentful, and then we feel like our power is being siphoned away from us. And that comes out of that solar plexus. So the negative thinking, that's one place where we can start to look, is like, where is your power being diminished, either because you're thinking that you can't shine it and now you're having negative thoughts, you feel like it's not worthy, or you're letting somebody take it because maybe they're very different than you, maybe they think differently than you. So I'm a Sagittarius sun, my husband's an Aries sun, and so the two of us together, like, we both want to take up the space. We both want to be right, we both want to be heard, we both want to like, I am the fire in this relationship. And so our power, we can get in those power struggles very much with that visibility and who's going to be the one who battles through to win this thing, or the one that's right, the one that's wearing the pants right now. And so learning that when it came to having negative thoughts about him, about my relationship, about myself, was very impactful for me because I was able to see it as what it was, just this like power that was all bouncing off of each other. And how can I work toward receiving his power and then advocate for my power to be received? And learning to communicate in that way helped to shift those negative thoughts. Now, speaking of advocating for my power and also receiving of his, when, giving him that space, that moves us up to the heart energy center, your heart chakra, which is all about unconditional love for yourself and for others. And when it comes to negative thinking, this, like, your heart chakra has a lot to do with this, because if you feel like, if you say I unconditionally love other people, but then you're mad at them because they're not living up to your expectations all the time, or you feel like you've disappointed yourself, or you should have known better, or you're not worthy of something, or you don't know enough yet, if you can just learn a little bit more, then you'll be ready, or somebody else knows better than you. That's not actually unconditional love at all. So many of us will say, like, yes, I unconditionally love my family and myself, but we don't actually unconditionally love. Like, there's all kinds of conditions attached to it that we declare this will make us more worthy. And then that leads to that negative thinking. Now, your heart chakra can be aligned with the energy of Venus, as one placement. And also sometimes like the energy of Earth could work here. I look at that more as your root chakra. But then the moon too, I think, works really well here. The moon with your sacral, in your sacral, also Jupiter expansion. But then with your heart, I can see the moon here. And then I can also see Venus here as well. So the moon, when we talk about this and negative thoughts, your moon in astrology is your shadow self. It is how you will react or respond when you feel backed into a corner. So it is very much like, what are your thoughts going to do when you feel put upon, when you feel like you need to be defensive and come out swinging? What are your thoughts going to do? So we can look at this here with negative thinking, whether it's negative thinking about ourselves, it's fearful thinking, it's avoidant thinking, it's confrontation, it's resentment. We're mad at people, we're mad at ourselves, like doom spiraling in your mind, whatever it is for you. Understanding your moon sign in astrology can be very, very helpful there. So I'm an Aquarius moon, and then with that Aquarius moon, I know that I will want to feel like I am being heard. I'll want to feel like I'm right in some way. And it's an air sign. So I will really get up in my thoughts about negative thinking if I'm not careful, and about like over analyzing a situation too, or thinking that like I know what's best for everybody, not just like me or one person, and then get very defensive about that. So understanding that and what that means for unconditional love. If I know that with as an air sign moon, I'm also going to want to I'm going to want to talk about things. I'm going to want to over communicate when I feel shadowy or like I want to be heard. So, how can I understand how I want to communicate negative thoughts I might be having about myself, but how other people might be receiving them, or how other people might not communicate in that same way? So, then if I'm having negative thoughts about them and my life in general, I can start to mediate or mitigate rather those negative thoughts that I am having. And then Venus here with that heart unconditional love energy. Venus is the planet of love, and your Venus sign can talk about love, and so can your moon with like familial love, nurturing kind of love, like a parenting or parent child sort of love. But your Venus can also be your romantic love. And what's been really interesting for me with negative thinking, and I think a lot of women can relate to this, when it comes to intimacy and feeling like you have like it's like something you have to do. It's another to-do list item to be intimate with your partner. And like, if you don't do it, then everyone's, they're gonna be mad and it's gonna be a fight, and you just, like, have to give in and give up and and just, like, do the thing, right? And so I think that that can lead to a lot of negative thinking about the relationship, about relationship patterns, about expectations of you, about how, you're not enough of this or someone's too much of that, or, like, then you get thinking about your body and your, how things used to be versus how they are now. And then that's negative thinking. So understanding your Venus sign, I think, can bring us back to unconditional love too. When you understand that we all are just different people trying to work together. So for me, with the negative thinking, that was a huge pain point in my relationship. And if you look at my birth chart does not indicate that I would have problems in the intimacy area. My birth chart is like, nope, this is a go for this person, which is not untrue. But my husband and I, where the negative thinking comes in, and then the resentment comes in, and then I have negative thinking about myself where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm failing at this. I can't believe I sabotaged this again because I picked a fight or something. Learning my Venus sign and my husband's Venus sign was really helpful in understanding that communication to help get out of the negative thinking. So my Venus is in Sagittarius, and his Venus is in Gemini. Now those are opposite signs, so they can flow together, like opposites attract and duality, and that whole deal, like they flow off of one another. But also the basics of them, Sagittarius is like bigger picture, fast, to the point, like what's the adventure here? Let's get to the adventure part. Where Gemini though is more micro. Sagittarius is very like big, like the big experience. What's the overall like big picture that's going to happen here? Let's get to that part. Where Gemini is micro. Gemini also likes to talk. Sagittarius is action. Gemini is like, let's talk about it. And so, where we were having confrontation, which would lead to negative thinking for me, and then fighting and resentment and shadow feelings, was about this. And when I saw that and I realized, like, well, actually, we're just very different in this way, that helped too to calm the negative thinking, come back to asking myself, how do I want to feel? Which is the first part of our 5I framework that we teach to help with negative thought management. So come back to that question and then say, well, I want to feel like I want to feel passionate, or like I want to feel present in this moment, or I want to feel available for this. I don't want to feel frustrated. Like, how do I not want to feel? I don't want to feel frustrated and resentful. I want to feel good about this. So then I could remind myself, okay, well, this is how he thinks about this. This is how I think about this. They're different and they're opposite. So, how do I unconditionally love us both in this moment? So, we're both getting what we need, and then communicate that so that he knows too, like what we both need and how it's being received. So, looking at energy, looking at the planets really helps you to understand possibly where your negative thoughts are coming from and why you might be having specific negative thought patterns. This flows into your throat chakra as well, which is your communication center. And that is aligned with the planet of Mercury. My Mercury is also in Sagittarius. My Mercury, my Venus, my Sun, three of them from this discussion today, all in Sagittarius. But your Mercury and how you communicate um, and that's negative thoughts as well. Your Mercury is your thoughts. That's aligned with Gemini, that energy of Gemini I was just talking about. And then your throat chakra energy, that's communication. So we can ask ourselves based on your astrology, what can you learn about what would be like an expansive communication versus a constricted one? So for me, again, having a Sagittarius Mercury, a very expansive way of communicating is big ideas. Like, I don't like to talk about the details. I cannot stand small talk. I just can't. Talking about like the best prices at the grocery store, which grocery store has the best deals, what car are you going to buy? Like, I don't know, mundane everyday conversations. Oh my gosh, bore fest. I want nothing to do with them. But I don't do well at like barbecues, picnics, where everyone's talking about the end of the school year or something. That's not my jam. It does not, I don't even know what to say. But then if you want to talk though about like 3D, 5D realities and astrology and tarot and aliens and I don't know, whatever, like embodiment practices and go for a hike, I am all about it. So with that communication, I can see where I might have negative thoughts if I'm in a situation that makes me feel like I want to poke my eyes out. And now I start to think, oh, I'm not worthy. I'm not as good as these people because obviously they have something I don't. Obviously, I have nothing to bring to this conversation because I don't think like they do. And then start having negative thoughts. So when you know your Mercury and how you communicate, that can be very telling about your negative thoughts that you might have and how you can look at your energy in that area. So I know for me to feel expansive in communication, um, I want to see the big picture and I have to really focus on not getting into negative thoughts when I'm in a conversation that's very micro or where there are people that need to talk out like fine details. And I have to practice regulating my energy and I have to practice like breathing and I have to practice like I'll have pen and paper so I can doodle while I'm listening and all those things I can do because it helps me stay out of negative thoughts and just honor who I am energetically. So I think when we get into negative thoughts, a lot of that happens because we're not honoring who we are energetically. Your energy body, it's impacted by your internal energy, these ethereal energies, your chakras, the stories those hold that you've absorbed over your whole lifetime, and then the blueprint of who you are, your astrology. That is all combining together to sort of create your auric field, your energetic layout at any point in time. And for many of us, we get so easily into a constrictive energy, a constricted, like shrinking energy, because we're reacting to what's happening around us rather than owning our energy and owning our power and owning our voice and amplifying it out. We're just reacting. So then we just shrink and we shrivel based on what's going on around us. And then we get in negative thoughts about it. So the way out of that is to be the power bank, be the source your own power from within you, expand that out. But to do that, you need to understand the stories that are making up your energy centers. You need to understand the stories that make up your astrology and then have a framework to help talk yourself out of the negative thought. So I know that I am best served when I can be in big, juicy conversations that are visionary and general with my solar plexus and my Sagittarius there, and then my Sagittarius Venus and my heart chakra, my Sagittarius Mercury and my throat chakra. Like, I am all this middle chakra energy that's swirling around. Best served in big picture thinking. So when people start to get really upset about fine details or they're like really picking on something, I can start to feel really reactive and then have negative thoughts either about the person or about myself and how I fit into it, or like I need to solve a problem or I did something wrong because obviously I didn't see this little tedious thing coming because I think too big. And then the negative thoughts come. And then that's where the framework comes in. How do I want to feel? It's the first step of the framework. And then from there, what action can I take? Where's the shadow coming from? And we can weave all these elements in to change the thought instantly. But it starts with knowing yourself, and it starts with understanding these metaphysical principles that make up your energy. Your 3D world, that's everything you can see around you, comes to being because of your 5D energy. That's what you can't see. So you start to understand the parts of you that you can't see, and then you have a framework to change your thoughts, and your 3D world changes as a result. So the things around you, the people around you, your relationships all shift as a result. I'm married to the same man I was married to years ago when I was so frustrated, resentful, have same relationships, like I have the same business. But it's because I didn't burn everything down and feel like I had to start over, because I was able to understand how to be my power source and not try to just like not try to get power externally because I was having negative thoughts and didn't trust myself to take what is powerful within me and radiate it out into the world and then weather the storm as things changed. I think that we can really hold ourselves back from taking action on all this cool learning because it feels too scary. Like, what happens if somebody gets mad at me? What happens if I outgrow people? I will tell you, early 2023, there was some relationships, friendships, and I had just changed in how I presented myself, what I was willing to accept, what I wasn't. And some good friends of mine have had fell away as a result. And it was really challenging. It was one of the most heartbreaking times in my adult life. I will be honest. It was gut wrenching for me and still is. And I often am just like, and I still grieve that moment in time. However, I honored myself and I honored my energy, and I pushed forward, like through to this new way of being. And I have had the most peaceful, the most like abundant, relaxing year and a half ever. And I've been teaching this for 8 years, and I've been living this work for like 20 something. But it was really, I think it took me not just teaching it and doing it, but having the moment in my life where it really required me to live it. And so powerful. And I'm really passionate about helping people find this power, find their energy, see their like energetic blueprint, and then use this framework that we teach. That came to me at just the right time. That's a story for another day, but it like appeared in my brain, divinely guided or something. Like I was like, in there, and spread it to the masses. And it came right when I was going to need it, but I didn't know it yet. And this was in 2021. So that's a story for another day. But anyway, so there you go. There's some ideas for you about negative thoughts. And I didn't like, I would start to suggest that you think about your chakra energy, your planets, and how your energy might default to negative thoughts. So you can start to understand that about yourself and then have a tangible way to make changes to move out of the negative thoughts. So when you know, like, oh, this is something about me, it's like my default setting to have a negative thought because X, Y, and Z, whether it's your energy, your stories from the past, your astrology. If you know your default, then you can start to change the default. But that comes with knowing yourself. So anyway, all right. Well, I talked about holistic witchery, let you know we have that program. So you can check that out at holisticwitchery.com. But we also are hosting a free event coming up soon. It's called Midsummer Mayhem, where we are going to talk more about topics like this and bring that alive feeling to your summer, to your energy long term. If there's one thing we know for sure, all of us, it's that we will not live forever. You get this one precious life. Let's make it a good one. And in Midsummer Mayhem, we are going to crack open your voice, crack open who you are so that you can know yourself in this big, brilliant way. Like I've come to know myself, and apply these metaphysical tools to your life so that you live this summer feeling alive, feeling abundant, feeling buzzing with energy and magic. We can't wait to share it with you. So we'll have the link and all the places you would find it, but it's a free event, Midsummer Mayhem. And we hope to see you there. So get registered for that no matter what. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this episode of the podcast. And until next time, I hope that you have an enchanted rest of your day ahead. If you love the podcast, be sure to leave us a rating or a review. That helps us to get the word out about all we're doing here at the Sisters Enchanted. Thanks for being part of our community, and we'll see you in the next episode.